What I'd like to do today is talk about the great John McEnroe's serve. People always talk about how unorthodox it is and how different it looked, but believe it or not, biomechanically, this guy checked every box and more and added a few sprinkles. Let me explain. When people look at someone's serve, they're always looking really at the wrong thing. They look at how they start and how they take the racket back. That is what we call window dressing, a personal interpretation, or just a modification or an adaptation of how they want to try to do their serve. There's not a wrong way or a right way, there's a better way. And so when people look at McEnroe's stance, okay, and they look at his take back, that's what everybody focuses on, and it's irrelevant. It has nothing to do with the end result. If it has anything to do with the end result, it actually offers more disguise and deception. So as long as you have the right grip, you know how you take the racket back, whether it's abbreviated, whether you go the longer backswing, no matter if you're doing a pinpoint or a platform, whether your feet are close together or wider apart, it really doesn't matter. It's what works for you. In McEnroe's case, being a lefty and standing this way, he got the daily double, especially on the ad court. Okay, let me talk at it from a technical point of view. Number one, he has a continental grip, which is mandatory. His right arm, okay, goes up straight, which what you want, like you're placing an egg on the shelf, okay, when he tosses the ball, okay. His toss is a little more into the court because he's going to serve and volley. Now, if you look at his feet, because that's what everybody looks at, he was almost sideways to the court with his right foot parallel to the baseline, okay, and when he takes the racket back, his arms are relatively straight, and so to most people it looks stiff and mechanical, but it's not, okay. He's a very relaxed. He doesn't get enough credit for being a great athlete. McEnroe is a great athlete with a major league shoulder turn. So when he goes into his serve, he actually takes his hitting arm back first, and then he tosses the ball. That's his rhythm. That's his timing. That's what works for him. Remember what I said earlier, not a wrong way, a right way, a better way. When he takes the racket back, okay, the racket stays what we call on the hitting side of the body. What I mean is it's going to go down, okay, the left scapula. If you look where the racket goes, it's by the left scapula. Okay, a lot of people take it on the other side of the head, but McEnroe does the most important thing. The leg drive is initiated at the right time. When he pushes on the ground pushes back, because the ground's your best friend playing tennis, because all the power starts from the ground. The ground pushes up, and it makes the racket go into the back, and that fires you up into this dynamic cartwheel, all right? What I love about McEnroe's serve, because his back is to his opponent, that you cannot see where the ball's going. He has more disguise and deception, probably on the serve, than anybody in the history of the sport. So what a lot of times people think is wrong or a liability could actually be a weapon and an asset, okay? So back to the technical part. The racket, the edge of the racket goes in, the edge of the racket goes down and back, the edge of the racket flares out, the shoulder's set up for internal rotation, okay? You can see his pronation, the thumb is one way, then the thumb goes the other way. But what's unique about McEnroe, if you watch his back leg on the take back, when he pushes on the ground, his back leg is inverted. His back leg is inverted backward, okay? What I like the players to do is have it parallel to the baseline, okay? But McEnroe actually inverts. Watch his leg right here. It inverts backwards, okay? So the knee is pointing back. What that does biomechanically, it really ensures that your weight is behind your left hip. You're not forward too soon. You don't have it in front of the groin. So that shoots him up. It catapults him up like a jackrabbit. Yes, John the Jackrabbit. It shoots you up and out into a vertical cartwheel. Even though it looks like he's going forward, he's vertical way, way before linear. A lot of times when people do the platform and they push on the ground, what they do, the knee actually ends up too close to the front knee, okay? It's too close to the front knee, and they prematurely shift the weight forward like Djokovic. Believe it or not, biomechanically, McEnroe's serve is more sound because he checks those principles. Now, when he takes the racket back, another little idiosyncrasy, and that's all it is, when he takes the racket back, if you notice where his racket goes, it goes, look at this, way behind his back on the other side of his body almost, it looks like. But there's nothing matter with that. That's more an illusion. It's because of how he's standing that you see the racket flare into that position. See, his racket's pointing way down towards the side fence or parallel to the baseline. Okay, but that's a cause and an effect because of how he's standing. There you go. You got a good glimpse of it there. His racket was literally on the other side of the body, but it had nothing to do with anything. It's because of how he's standing. That's why. We'll get a better look at it here. That wasn't as bad. Probably hitting the second serve there. But at the end of the day, one of the best serves biomechanically, because all you want to do is you want to get into the power position, the loading phase, the cocking phase, the trophy position, and McEnroe did all that. It had nothing to do with his stance, but believe it or not, his stance led to a lot of disguise. It was hard to read. And to take it even further, on the ad court, which is the money point, that's where champions are made, on break point, on that ad point, people knew he was going to hit the New York can opener. They knew he was going to hit the slider, okay, that he was going to hit that wide serve. It didn't matter. They knew it, and they knew he was going to come to the net. This guy wouldn't even split step. He would just run in like his hair's on fire because serve was so good, and you were so far off the court. You had to play percentage. You had to hit it back down the middle of the court. He didn't even split. He was in there so fast, okay? He didn't even have to split step. And then, if you want to talk about hands, some of the best hands in the history of the game, McEnroe's hands were like cotton. So he had the daily double on the volley. Not only could he stick it, but he could go in there and hit the soft velvet dropper on the volley. McEnroe's serve, he checks a lot of boxes. Look at the most important things I focused on, and it can help your serve today.